All right, so tell me a little bit about you guys. Joseph, you start first.
Okay, so we are an independent label named P.U.R.E Records. It stands for, we know the dictionary word for P.U.R.E Records means clean to purify, but it actually has a meaning. P stands for purpose, U stands for unity, R stands for reality, and E is for ethos in the sense of like the code of my brother keeper. So that purpose, we work together, we speak your truth, and we work together as a family to make it happen.
Okay. So tell me about yourself, Jim.
Been in the military 20 and a half years. Been doing music mostly since about 2004, 2005, when I got into it, organizing events in Tokyo with these guys called Six Figures. And then from there, I left Japan, went overseas, came back to Japan. And then I started kind of doing everything on my own, getting to know more people in Tokyo and night scene in Tokyo. It got to the point where I could go to any club, whether it was in Shibuya, Roppongi, Ginza, people knew my face and I didn't even know who they were, which was kind of weird. And I met up with Joe in Portugal, and Joe had this idea. He brought it to me, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Because we were joking. We actually, take it back a little bit, we were joking about this idea when we were at a barbecue, when we were overlooking the cliffs in Portugal, and we were just like, man, what if we started a music label? And then I was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool, but who would really, want to rock with us? And then it just kept going from there. And he hits me up once I'm back in the States. He's like, hey, there's a really cool guy in New York I want you to meet, and he could help us get our music label started. I was like, okay. So we went up to New York, and then we just started getting things rolling from there.
Okay, all right. So then it started when you were in military, and then you just made it a reality, basically.
Yes.
Okay, so is music your first love?
Yes.
And why do you?
Yes.
So like when you say it's your first love, what was the moment you fell in love with music?
For me, I fell in love with music when the first time I was able to comprehend it by the age of 2. So I was the kid that before he knew his ABCs, I knew every lyric, I knew every cuss word, I knew every where I really got my real passion for music is when I used to imitate a lot of people. So I used to really imitate Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown was like my favorite artist at the time because he did things his way. He had to just move in the crowd and just make you feel like you was important. So for me, that would be the first time I actually fell in love with music, because I like the way that it makes you feel. It takes you out of your element of reality and takes you into this imaginary place where you isn't seeing yourself with the stars. So I can't sing or rap or produce, but I know how to put tunes and keys in my head and know how to put sounds and that type of stuff.
Okay, all right. And what about you, Jim?
I started really understanding music when, like he said, at a really young age.
So there's always had music from the OJs to Elvis Presley's to Marvin Gaye's, Michael Jackson, you name it, it was in the house.
Right.
Especially T.S. Monk, that was the thing, and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, okay, all right. That was like the dope stuff back in the day. And when you said something about Bobby Brown, the first thing that came to mind when you said he did things his way is your prerogative. So when you think about P.U.R.E Records, the record label, what comes to mind? Is it your prerogative to do what you want to do with that record label?
No, it's the prerogative of doing the right thing when no one's looking, taking care of you. So a lot of the practices that we have, it comes from our upbringing because we were raised right to a certain extent, and also from the military, the discipline that comes into play. We don't believe in just rewarding people just to reward them. That work, your attitude, your character is the most important thing, because it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't have the character to match the talent, then you're going to crash and burn. We've seen it plenty of times, to include Mr. Bobby Brown. So when it comes to this label, we treat our artists with dignity, respect. We show them support morally, personally, and musically. So beyond this music stuff, we're a close, tight-knit family. However, if you do something wrong, we will call you out on it. but we will give you solutions to fix it. Because you have to remember, music is bigger than all of us.
Right.
Music is individual. There's no I in team. You have to move a certain way, and you have to follow the machines. And the beautiful thing about it, just like our ancestors, through the time of music, and even in history, from your Martin Luther Kings and Malcolm X's, they left notes on how to better and how to do better. So that's where we take a lot of pride into it, because we listen to our elders of music, if you should say,
right,
kind of guide us the right way, because they don't want to see us make the same mistakes, and we plan to do that in the next 20 years as well, when there's another group of kids or a group of young men or women just like us who want to make a difference as well. You gotta have a brand. You have to have an idea or an image that people will flock to. So taking you back on the history, when I came with the idea, we was like, okay, now we need a dope symbol that represents necessarily not just music, but a culture.
Right.
The Chinese symbol that you see in the back of the P.U.R.E Records logo, it's basically, it's a Chinese symbol that means to clean and to purify. It's the same verbiage in the. Just to backtrack again, as far as like what all entails in making a label, you want to have a solid group of individuals that you can trust first and foremost. You guys all have to be like-minded. The next step after that is having resources that can get you to the goal that you're trying to reach to. So i.e. a person that's in the music industry or a relationship, those type things matter, as long as your character is good. Then the third step would be having a dope concept, the substance of having a great trademark. After that, having a name that can be, creditable around the industry. Name has to mean something. Everybody that's naming their labels like Dogtown Records and all that stuff like that, it's like you can only go so far with that. You have to be a visionary and think of, in the sense of like Motown, or a Bad Boy, or a Death Row, or Rockefeller. You have to have a name that's going to carry weight along with merchandise and movies, franchises, something that's going to be around here for the ages that people can talk about.
Right.
So you have to have those substances. And after that, it's just the business stuff, like the LLC, getting a lawyer, getting your team together, and y'all have a solid plan. So when you present your product to someone like a brand like Pepsi or Coca-Cola, you can stand behind it because it actually means something and it carries weight.
Okay. And you agree, Jim? I'm assuming you're like-minded.
Yes.
And I guess my next question, are y'all in the same state? How do y'all make it work?
You answer that one, James. I got you.
I'm in Florida. He's in North Carolina. We've all, with the exception of just being in Portugal together, we've always been apart. We make it work by just a whole lot of communication. Sometimes we'll talk to each other 2 to 3 times in a day.
Right.
Just to make sure that we're on the same wavelength, make sure we got the same information. And then whenever we can, we'll meet up. Like when we went to Miami or when we went to the BET Music Awards, we all just kind of bring our ideas together. And when we do meet up, it's usually pretty. It's like magic, It's like, dang, man, it's like it's good to see you. Like it's good to see you.
Right.
Talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and it's better to meet up face to face. But we do make it work, even though we're apart. And being that we were both in the military, I'm still in. I retire next year. We just kind of got used to that, using the information highway to communicate.
Okay. All right. So then with that being said, and then you told me, just the basis for your label and how you created it. When you're scouting for artists, what do you look for?
Substance. You got to have something. It doesn't matter when it comes to music, it doesn't matter what you talk about, as long as it has a solid. And we look for that. We look at your image. We look at your background. We look at the overall person, because again, what I said before, your character has to match your talent.
Right.
We've dealt with artists who have a great opportunity and they're a hell of a talent, but the problem is that their personal lives are probably not in order for them to transcend into that next level, or if be an attitude mechanism.
Right.
So you have to be able to identify those things and ask yourself in the long haul, you as an artist, can you actually overcome? And us as a label, can we actually deal with it?
Right. So you guys are very much so hands-on with the development, like artist development, just really not saying we're going to sign you and we're going to sell your records and then step away from it. So you do a lot with your artists.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because it's important, because music is, because you got to think about the time span of an artist. An actual artist is not on the level of a Drake or whoever.
Right.
They 3 year to 5 year span. So we want to make the most out of the opportunity that we have with you. Whether if you sign with us or not, we want to make you into a business mogul, a professional, and with good moral judgment and character. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is that you see our faces, you see how we're involved, you see us making sacrifices along with you, maybe more than you, but you know that you have that team that actually cares about you beyond music, because you can't be with P.U.R.E Records if you're not willing to do that.
Right.
Everybody on this team has a sense of accountability on holding each other up. Like if I'm doing something wrong, I expect my business partner, James, to correct me, or our other business partner, Ralph McKensie, or even with the artists. Like we're a label where you understand whose position, who plays what position, but you can't identify who the boss is, because we train everybody to be a boss.
Okay, and then you guys have had successes with your artists. Like, what was the latest success story that you had?
So the latest success story that we've had this whole, I would say all of 2019, we've had a very successful 2019. We've been to major events like South by Southwest, performed with Hot 97. Our music has made it on Hot 97 in New York, the Hot 97 too.
Right.
We've been to LA, we've been to Miami. We started 2020 off before that pandemic happened. We was in Brazil and Rio.
Wow.
We've been fortunate enough and been blessed to meet a lot of people in between, from your historical DJs to your local DJs to radio people. We built a lot of great relationships with some great people, even in the area of North Carolina, from, you know, Brian Dawson's, to people that's all over, DJ in Miami, folks in Japan. The list goes on, and it just comes from our hard work and dedication and our character as people.
Right.
So,
what do you think sets you aside? I mean, I know because there's a lot of research that you have to do to build something like a record label, because that with everything on the internet, you know, people just jump on and they're hot today and gone tomorrow, but they're not backed by a label. So with you guys, with you pushing your artists, do you think that's one of the things that sets you aside from other labels?
Yes, because we have integrity. We know deep down inside the end goal is that you want to be a superstar. We get it. But there's steps that we have to take to get you to that superstar level. Most people, I think, in my opinion, get confused because they hear these stories about, oh, this person was a YouTube sensation, or they dropped and they blew up. That's not necessarily true, because everybody has somebody that gets them in the door.
Right.
You know? But it's the image that that individual portrays to a masses of people to make them think like, oh, I just dropped a song and I just blew up just like that. But what we like to do is we like to bring the sense of reality of where you're at and how can we build from there.
Right.
Top of building relationships. So I guess what separates us from other record labels, we actually give a damn about you as a person. You're not just another statistic, you're not just another number, you're not just another product of your environment. We're looking to bring the best out of you and bring more out of you. First and foremost, as a man or a woman, but then second, an artist, and then third, to know that you have a family. And I think most artists can agree, independent artists especially, even maybe some major artists can agree that it's nothing like making music or doing what you love to do, knowing that you got somebody in your corner that got your back.
Right.
100%. It doesn't matter the position. It doesn't matter the title. Everybody likes that sense of comfort. Like when you're in a relationship with your significant other, you want to know that when you lay your head down and when you wake up, you got somebody that loves you unconditionally.
Right. Well, stability.
Yep, you want that stability. And I think, and I know for a fact, that's what we can bring to a lot of artists in P.U.R.E Records, because that you get caught up in the money or you get caught up in the fame, but you got to look at the long-term relationships that we're building, what you have. And then when that money comes, the easy access that you will have based off the relationships that we introduced you and placed you with from the get-go.
Right. I think the thing that's so unique about you guys is, again, your cultural, like just your cultural background. So you know music. That's number one. So without doubts, anybody that joins your team should know, listen, they've been all around the world sampling this music, that music, meeting this person and that person. So it's a huge deal to be part of what you have going on. The fact that you've been doing this for 4 years, you've signed artists, you've invested a lot of your own money. Like, I think in a couple of interviews, it was mentioned that y'all spent thousands of dollars just to get artists from here to there, you know, so, you know, and you're rebranding now. So what are some of the things that you're willing to do differently now that you did before?
I'll let you start with that one, James. And I'll
Okay, well, with the new artists that we're bringing on board, we're definitely, first off, I'm a very person. I don't really have a filter. I've been told.
That's all right.
So I'm just gonna lay it out like this. We're actually signing people that have a good business mindset and that understand what it is to be in a business, to be a part of a business, to be part of an organization. And the mindset, the work ethic of these new people that we're signing is absolutely amazing. I mean, the guy makes a schedule of his day, right down to like, I need to, you know, eat. Now I need to do this. Now I need to do this. He's extremely organized. And so for us, it's like, okay, if we're going to sign people on being an indie that we need help, we're going to sign people on that have that business intelligence, you know, and think like we do when it comes to making moves and understanding that, you know, yes, we're going to do everything we can with what we have. So let's really maximize our resources to the best. And so that's kind of like where we're sitting now. Before we were sitting, okay, well, we know this guy for many years. We know he might be good. We know he might be, you know, a real type person. But now we're like, okay, we need to look for a business-minded individual.
Okay. So structure.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's a character. All of that comes into play this time, because with our first 4 years, just like any business that you start with, you take a gamble.
Right.
We took a gamble. We took a chance on certain individuals, and, you know, life happens. Things just don't pan out. However, one monkey doesn't stop no show. You keep moving forward. So now with the experiences, the opportunities that we were fortunate with, we learned how to take a better approach from the previous experiences that we had before. So with the to piggyback on what James was saying about these 2 artists who are getting ready to sign next week, they're very talented, can play instruments, can sing, can rap, do different all types of cover arts, cover remakes and genres. They have a schedule. They understand the structure of business from royalties all the way to who has the rights of a song.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about these 2 individuals is one is 18 and the other one is in her early 20s.
Wow. Okay.
Very talented, very, very talented. Got to come from a musical background as well. And we have another individual that we're getting ready to interview later today. Very talented rapper. And we're going to introduce ourselves to him, and he's going to introduce him to us. And we're going to see if the vibe is there, because P.U.R.E Records is all about vibes and positive energy. You have to have a great connection on top of the business side. Because we've had some very interesting, intriguing challenges that have occurred, but we've been able to adapt and overcome in every obstacle.
Right. Okay. So then my next question, are you guys still signing artists? And you mentioned you signed 2, so what are they? R&B, hip hop? What's the genre? Okay,
so the young lady, her name is AnJel Unique. She is an R&B singer. She's tapping into rap and stuff. She wants to be all around, embody all around compass. But her trade by heart is R&B.
Okay.
Now her brother I don't want to categorize him because he's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he does a lot of different things from rock to R&B to rap. He can produce. He does his own videos. He's ahead of it.
Multi-dimensional.
I like to describe him as the LeBron James of music.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe him. And I'm telling you that this guy is a treat. Just to give a little backstory of where his business savvy and his sister's business savvy comes from. Their
Mm-hmm.
father was a longtime player for George Clinton in the Parliament.
Wow.
So the guy that used to run around with the diaper on and stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's their father.
Wow, that's amazing.
And their cousin through their mother is Omarion and Janae Aiko.
Okay, so they're already tapped into a musical background.
Yes, but the beauty about these two is that they want to do it on their own. So when they introduce themselves to their family or to whoever, they have a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Once we had a meeting with them this past weekend, and once they got to see who we were as people and how we operate as business, the
Mm-hmm.
connection was there. After the first day, the connection was there.
Okay.
So they're going to be bringing not a lot of new heat per se, but they're going to be bringing something really good for the culture. A lot of messages, a lot of good vibes, a lot of just a lot of great things on the way.
Just
P.U.R.E
dope stuff.
Yes, P.U.R.E Records has definitely leveled up big time.
Well, you weren't ever leveled low.
That's true. That's true. But you know, for the listening people.
Uh-oh. Jim, you're on, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so it's Joseph this time.
No worries. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, but you were just stuck for a minute in a not so cute light.
Am I good now?
You're definitely good.
Okay, good, because we can't be having that on the cover. That's not good. But more or less, we have some exciting things coming on the way, and we have other artists that we're going to be interviewing. And this kid right here that I'm referring to, he has a lot of great potential, and he's actually been out there as well, from BET to Music Choice. He's got songs with Offset.
Oh wow! Okay.
He's been around before, but he's looking for a strong team as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard enough about his character, and I just want us to meet the man ourselves, so that way we can get a feel for him and see if he's P.U.R.E Records material.
Right. Okay. All right. So like, and you're actively looking for a new artist. So like, how many artists can P.U.R.E Records take on? I think that's an important question.
Well, to be honest, back then we used to carry like 4 or 5 artists at one point in time. But as we started seeing personal challenges and struggles and personality conflicts, we realized that it cost us a lot.
Yeah.
So honestly, I would say 2 to 3 at most, as long as they patient. But if they're not patient, we're good with the 2 that we got.
Okay.
Please,
all right.
Please believe me.
So you're going through a strong screening process with this last artist that you're bringing on board.
Absolutely, because, and James can contest to this, the experiences that we've had from it's just little minor things that you would think that if this is your dream or if this is your goal, you won't let nothing stop you. So we've dealt with everything from jealousy to insecurities to listening to outsiders to people leeching. And you falling for it because you felt like you was at this plateau that you was in charge of the label and the label wasn't in charge of you. We've dealt with all the Eddie Kanes and Bobby Browns and all that stuff. But you know, to each his own. It was a great learning experience, and I believe in every struggle it makes you into a better person and into a better businessman. So we have a good way ahead and a way forward now.
Okay, all right. Now, if for artists that's interested, and I know that you have your eyes on one more person, or for whatever reason, if they blow up, or I don't know how that works when you're managing an artist, what that longevity is like. You know, do you stick by the person? Do you pull on more people? You know what I'm saying? So if you're in the business of hiring somebody else, not hiring, well, of course, it's technically hiring. It's a business, you know, at the end of the day. How could artists reach out to you?
They can reach us. The fastest way to reach us is through Instagram and Facebook. Our Instagram is P.U.R.E Records_music. And then our Facebook page is P.U.R.E Records Music all together. We have a website that's in construction right now because right now we're just trying to get all the artists and get everything we need together. And it's active, but we don't like to really give that out because it's just in plain context.
Right.
So once we get all that reconstructed, we'll be promoting that, sending that out so people can see more of us, see more videos, see all types of stuff that would intrigue you as an artist that wants to be a part of something bigger than you.
Okay, and that does not mean spam the account, guys and gals. That means send the best of what you have. Like, I can't even begin to tell you the number of beats I get, and I'm not even a producer, but that's the content I get. So, like, if you're really serious about your craft and you want to work with these guys, send the best of what you have, not just anything, but the best of the best that's going to showcase you as the artist. So that's my tidbit. I have another question, and it's not about the music, but it's just about, you know, what's going on, current events, you as Black men trying to sustain in this era. What are your thoughts on that?
James, you start.
Well, it's interesting. I was actually thinking about this the other day. So being in my military career, I came in '99. I just want to give a little context. I went right overseas immediately, my first duty station. I proceeded to stay overseas for the next 17 and a half years. So I didn't get back to living in this country until the middle of 2017. So when I said that I've been to, Japan and, Iraq and, Portugal and Germany and, Brazil, all
everywhere.
Over. Because I've really traveled. That I took that 17 years, and the military just put me everywhere, and everywhere I went, I tried to make the very best of it. And being that you're overseas for so long outside the States, you start to see other cultures and how they do business and how they treat their people. I'm not going to say what's going on in the States is just exclusive to here. How the States deals with it, though, I think we could be doing a much, much better job, because there's other places, for example, Portugal, they were one of the first countries actually to have slaves, in Angola, and they were one of the first countries to stop, and they immediately embraced their former colonies as their own. Now when I went to a lot of Portuguese homes and you look around their homes, you see the homes decorated with a lot of African themed, art or sculptures. And if you ask them about that, they don't ever try to say, oh, well, this is, African Portuguese. They go, no, this is Portuguese. What America, in my opinion, needs to do, and I'm no expert, but we definitely need to communicate better and learn how to blend more, because if we can't keep our house together, then it's going to fall apart from the inside out. And this great society that we have, it won't be around for our children or our children's children. And I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, that's what we're trying. That's what we're marching for. And I agree with that. Me as a private citizen, I agree with what they're doing in a protest and marching, everything like that. Now, me as a military member, I still support what they're doing, but I always want to say be responsible in your how you respond, and always think about the long term and everything like that. But I'm definitely affected by what's going on, because me and my wife, we were trying to drive up to Montgomery, and I get pulled over for no reason, just because I have a nice car. Just because I have a nice car. He pulled me over, like, yeah, you were speeding. I'm like, no, I wasn't. Like, yeah, you were. Here's your ticket. So, and there's been plenty other things. Like, I'll give you another example. I was trying to hold the door open for a little girl walking in. The mom was like, don't talk to those people.
Oof.
So, I mean, and as the United States, we should be much further ahead than where we are. And I think that's because of ignorance. That's because of fear. And it's just all these other, old thinking from long time ago of caste systems that don't even exist anymore. All that stuff needs to come down. All that needs to come down.
Obsolete.
Yep.
And what about you, Joseph?
So I got to see a taste of both sides of experiencing it in the States, but I also spent some time while I was in the military overseas, so I can relate to what James is saying of how the culture embraces with us. So I see it on both sides, and I agree with a lot of things that he say that we could be better as American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it saddens me that we're still following the same pattern, and that goes for even white America as well.
Mm-hmm.
These practices and these laws of feeling privileged and feeling that you can do what you want to do to other cultures, it's not right.
Right.
There's no point of having stuff that's in black and white if we're not going to really abide by it. We might as well have rules. But under the same sense, when it comes to our people, I know our people is frustrated. I know we're all frustrated. I know we're tired and all that stuff, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. But at the same time, as this world has elevated, we should be elevating as well with our minds. Because if you think about it, what is the great, and I've asked this question to a couple of colleagues of mine and friends of mine, what do you think white America's greatest fear is when it comes to an African American? It's not their talents, it's not their money, because it comes from them.
Right.
It's the mind. If you think about it, look at all our leaders from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X, even Tupac himself. Their minds was the most powerful thing that put fear in their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when situations like George Floyd, God bless the dead, and it's unfortunate what happened to him, I think us as a people, instead of challenging our anger in the physical manner of, because there's people out there that's really protesting to take a stand, and then there's those individuals that are taking advantage of the people that's trying to make a difference, and they're looting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Burning the stuff, they're burning our towns down, they're burning our own community down. And what do you notice every time that they do that? You notice a cameraman that comes and he zooms in on everybody, but he finds the first black man or black woman that he sees acting a fool.
Right.
So giving these people evidence to look at us like we're cage animals and perceive us as that way. But if you start taking the time to really analyze the situation and realize the power of the mind that you have, from the person that's the richest person, black man in the world, to the most poverty person in the world, and we put our heads together and we put our minds together, you can shape a whole culture. Because when they take one of ours, they expect for us to act like this because we've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine if we stop doing that. How fearful would that be for our predecessors and our oppressors and all that stuff? How fearful would that be?
Right.
Because we don't know what our next move is. If we started taking the time and we actually took the messages of Dr. King and Dr. Malcolm X and stuff, and we looked at them, instead of taking one paragraph like most people do on social media, like everybody's favorite line from Malcolm X is what? By any means necessary.
Right.
But if you go back and you read the context of everything that he was talking about, he was just telling you to fight back with your mind. Be 2 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
There was some physicality that came into play, but the overall goal is knowing your worth, knowing how smart you are. If we focus more on that, because in order for us to change the world and society as it is, I believe, in my opinion, we have to fix our house as African Americans first on the inside. Take away all this, take away all this envy, take away this competition, like, oh, I got to compete with you. I got to compete with you to make it. And when you do make it, come back and help your people in the way that they should be, not the way that you want to because you're scared that they're going to pass you.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, those type of things have to be done first in order for us to be united. We stand.
Right.
And I just pray for all cultures, but especially our culture, because this was our land first, and we need to treat it as such. We don't have to imagine about Wakanda because Wakanda is already here.
Mm-hmm.
It takes all of us to take that step, to teach this, show this by action, and demonstrate it in order for the dream that Dr. King really wanted us to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You got to have a vision. You got to have a mind. You got to want to take action. So I just pray that, people start to latch on. They really take heed and they catch on to that. And hopefully the interview that we're doing today, that they'll actually pay attention and they'll actually listen. Like one of the great things that Tupac said one of his interviews, he said, "I'm not here to change the world, but I can spark the mind that will do it."
Mm-hmm. That's a
And
fact.
and we're not going to be able to change the world, but this interview, maybe somebody's out there listening, maybe somebody's out there seeing this, and maybe they'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and that's one of our things when it comes to this label. Like outside of music, music is just the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are gonna see different levels of P.U.R.E Records in many different ways because it's bigger than music. You're talking about some global, some world social issues, things that we're gonna touch.
Mm-hmm.
The time is right.
Okay. All right. Preach. You know, that's the most important thing, you know, that you do is stay tapped in to what's going on. You know, I think when you're not tapped in, you kind of miss out on a lot of things, and especially with you working with artists with different backgrounds and demographics, you don't know what their go through is. So when you bring them on, you have a better understanding for what their struggle is. So that's phenomenal that you guys are doing that. So then if you have anything else that you'd like to share with people that are watching, because people watch, people tap in, the thing is we're more a visual society now. So it's kind of like what you said, that something struck a chord with all that was going on that incited a movement to where everybody wants to get involved. So you didn't have to click like or, you know, say, hey, I watched that. People watched and got involved. And it's just like this interview. They may not click like, but they will watch and somehow reach out to you and get involved. So if you have a message that you'd like to leave with those people, let me know what that is before we end this interview.
Just stand tall, stay true, and be you. Be the culture.
Be the culture. Love it. What about you, Jim? Quiet as a church mouse.
Well, I'm actually an introvert. Just kind of like how Joe says, be the culture and always try to use your mind before you use your emotion. I even tell myself that, you know, is the emotional response going to be worth it? You know, if you think it out and think it over and be like, okay, maybe this isn't the time to be so emotional. Maybe it's the time for me to go back, analyze, and then calculate, and then come back and you know, do something else. Because like Joe says, if you're quiet, they're not knowing what you're thinking. They're not knowing what you're going to do. And then when you do it, they're like, oh, whoa, I didn't expect that. Well, yeah, of course you didn't expect that because I didn't tell you what you wanted, you know, what you thought was going to happen. Or I didn't, you know, explain myself or my feelings to you. Because again, working in the military, I had to work with a whole bunch of people that, you know, push your buttons, and you have to, we call it military bearing, but it's really just kind of taking a step back and being like, okay, what's the appropriate response to this? And then go ahead and make that response. And then people are like, whoa, wow, I didn't expect that from you. It's like, well, that's what I know. And then that kind of lets you know that their thinking is kind of in a box over here where they kind of got you. And maybe, all right, well, I know how to deal with that individual, push them to the side. And then what you want to deal with is people that are smarter than you.
Right.
So, in the words of School Days, wake up.
Wake up and get your egos in check. So, thank you guys. It's lovely. It's been a lovely afternoon speaking with you and meeting the other parts of P.U.R.E Records. Definitely a joy.